holding that very profound belief that consciousness is a result of the world and not the world a result of consciousness makes consciousness invisible. Consciousness says, okay, if you don't believe I'm the ground of existence, I'm nowhere. But everywhere, but nowhere. And if you just doubt that belief intensely, consciousness appears with all its glory. But when it appears, it's everything.
Consciousness arises from existence, you could say. In the Tantric and Yogic idea, you would define as the three qualities of Brahman, of the Supreme, of the Absolute. You would call them Sat Chit Ananda. Sat, existence, Chit, consciousness, and Ananda, bliss or energy or the everythingness, you could say. So consciousness is a quality that arises from existence. The fact that you are aware of your own existence, that is consciousness. It is, let's say, a very complex concept that is trying to catch the fact that not just do we have a bunch of experiences, not just do we have a bunch of thoughts and a bunch of emotions, but there is something inside of us aware of it. And that which is aware, that which carries the function, quality of awareness, that within you is consciousness, and that within everything is consciousness.
If you ask a scientist what's consciousness, science doesn't know. It's luckily that scientists have, or at least conceive that they have consciousness, otherwise they would try to convince us, as they are trying already, some scientists, to tell us that consciousness doesn't exist, the whole universe is mechanic, and it's a kind of garbage of the survival process that we have an inner world, that we can think thoughts, imagine things, contemplate, meditate, is a certain garbage of us trying to survive, which is the only reality, and there's very, very little progress in this inquirement of consciousness. You can ask yourself, to answer that question, have you ever been anywhere without consciousness? Can anything exist without consciousness? Yeah, this classic Zen, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, doesn't make any sound. So we tend to see consciousness as a result of biology, as a result of the world, and that if nobody would be conscious, the world would still be there, and that's rather to put that as a question than as an affirmation. If there's no more consciousness anywhere to experience anything, where is the universe? When the idea, this is what Tantric masters tell us, when the idea that the world exists standing on the world and not standing on consciousness, when that idea collapses, consciousness appears as the only reality, as a solid reality. And the world is like a dream in consciousness, as solid as it looks. So holding that very profound belief that consciousness is a result of the world and not the world a result of consciousness makes consciousness invisible. Consciousness says, okay, if you don't believe I'm the ground of existence, I'm nowhere. But everywhere, but nowhere. And if you just doubt that belief intensely, consciousness appears with all its glory. But when it appears, it's everything. So it can exist or can be experienced only in an absolute manner, as a very transcendental reality. And let's say, when you look consciousness in the eyes, it is an experience of enlightenment. And from it, you say, okay, like Buddha said, the world is just the mind.
A thought is a wave on the ocean of consciousness, so they are not separate from one another. Your thought is a little splash there in the middle of your ocean of consciousness. So consciousness, when expressed in words in your head, is called the mind. Consciousness, when expressed as motions through your heart, is called emotion. Consciousness expressed into a dense form is called a physical object. So all of this is consciousness.
Yes, and the experience of pure consciousness is the experience of consciousness without attributes. And it is somehow it is an absolute experience. Because when you experience consciousness with something, yeah, you have your rice with mushrooms and rice with sauce and rice. If you just want rice, that would be absolute. So every time you have consciousness with something, you would have two. And you can never experience anything without consciousness. So any other experience of anything would be dual. Me brushing my teeth, dual, triple. Me, the toothbrush, me thinking, me saying, there are so many aspects of that. But the consciousness which experiences all of that, if it can be experienced alone, there is the chance to have an absolute experience in which the observer and the observed are one.
No. So as we said before, it's the union of Sat Chit Ananda, of existence, consciousness, and energy that makes up the absolute, that makes up the everythingness. And in this, energy and consciousness are thought to be completely distinct from one another. Ergo, they get two different categories in that scenario.
There is also in the tradition, as consciousness enters manifestation, we speak about Chit Shakti, which is the energy of consciousness, which is like, let's say, the first manifestation of consciousness. It is when the somehow absolute transcendental consciousness enters manifestation, it becomes energy or Chit Shakti, and it is, you can say, the first manifestation or the first form of energy is the energy of pure consciousness.
Awareness is a quality of consciousness. Due to the fact that you have a consciousness, you can be aware to something. So awareness is the simple act that you can be aware of something. And you can be aware of something because you have a consciousness. Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on spirituality, Tantra and more.
And if you want to sign up for our online classes or for our retreats, you can see our website on the description below.